Get out your reader's notes for 3 and for 4. Oh, you were here.
Are we airplane?
You have to do 3 and 4 tonight. No, I got mine on. It's no longer AirPlay. I got the Miro 360. Where's your reader's notes? Let's go. Let's get them open. 3, 4. Thank you so much. Grab your 3.
I did it, I promise.
Must have known it was 4.
Sean didn't do it. I did.
You were not here? Oh, I missed it.
Like 3 and 4. 3
And 4. Okay.
and
Alrighty, good job. So, for the people who were not here yesterday that I didn't know you were not here, I missed you. True.
I didn't do it this morning because my dad yelled at me and told me to go to bed. And I had my brother's concert, so I couldn't do it last night.
Well, you did it.
I
That's
did it.
alright.
I did it this morning.
So, I want to spend some time talking about chapter 4. And I want you to open up chapter 4. Girls, you're going to have to read 3 and 4. If you want to stay for the discussion, you're more than welcome to. If you'd rather get started reading 3 and 4 with your reader's notes, you can go out in the hall. It's entirely up to you. Up to you guys. Okay. 27. Open up to 27. You too, Isaac. It's right there.
Wow, he changed.
Wow, he changed a lot.
Wow,
All right, so at the end, the title of chapter 4 is Frog in a Butter Churn. Weird, totally weird. But the title is completely explained in the chapter. So if you turn to page 27 at the bottom,
I've memorized.
it talks about, well, first off, in the very beginning, the chapter opens with Liddy sleeping where?
In the hall.
Not
No.
The hearth.
the hearth, the fire's
I did not know
hearth.
what that was until
The hearth is the front of the fireplace, right. Why does she sleep there?
Isn't she like scared or she's like scared of being late, so she wants to be there so like when she wakes up she's early.
Very good. She's scared of being late because, why? Why won't she just wake up on her own in her own room?
Because she has to stay up late to tend to the fire.
No, but so why? She has to stay up late. I mean, sometimes we stay up late and we're able to wake up in our rooms. Why is she afraid that's not going to happen for her?
Because the mistress said that she can't sleep in the rooms because she doesn't want like a servant like sleeping.
Right,
in the
so
room.
what is her room like?
There's no windows.
There's no windows.
So it gets very hot.
And it gets very hot. She's sleeping in a closet. So when we wake up on a Saturday or a Sunday, you guys don't set your alarms, right? Do you guys wake up on your own?
Yeah.
Right, like your mom doesn't wake you up or an alarm
My
doesn't.
brother wakes me up.
That's kind
Not all the time.
Seems flat.
Not all the time. When you wake up on your own without an alarm, without your mom or dad, what usually is it that wakes you up?
Sun.
The sunlight.
Or
Right.
I fall in my bed.
Liddy does not have that, so she's in charge of the fire. Why does she all of a sudden get that job?
Because people would let it running all night.
People, specifically who?
Well,
Willie. Right. So Willie's a bum. Stupid guy. Lazy guy.
That's his name now.
Right. So Willie's a bum and he's lazy. So Liddy gets put in charge of keeping this fire going. And so she sleeps on the hearth of the fire, which is front of the fire. It's front of the fire. And Trifina one day wakes up or comes into the kitchen. Trifina came in one morning and found her there, but instead of scolding, took pity. A sort of friendship that began that morning. All right? So she starts liking Liddy, and she realizes Liddy's work ethic. All right? So at the bottom of page 27, the text states, one morning while Liddy was churning, just as the cream was breaking into curdles, the cook told Liddy about 2 frogs who fell into a pail of milk. One drowned right off, she said. nodding her head in the direction of the door, which had just slammed behind Willie's back. Well, what's happening? What, Faith?
Isn't it like the two frogs are Liddy and Willie?
Yeah.
Oh, I just got that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
she
thought they
says,
were real frogs.
she says, why, and you only got that because you paid attention to body language. Sometimes you guys have to read and pay attention to body language and not just the words on the page. So one drowned right off, she said, nodding her head in the direction of the door, which just slammed shut behind Willie. So it'd be like, let me tell you, Liddy, let me tell you a story about two frogs that fell into a pail of milk. One drowned right off. She's nodding in the direction of the door. Noelle, look up. No, you should be, we're listening, we're discussing. She's nodding in the direction of the door. And then, so one drowned right off, but the other kicked and kicked. And in the morning, they found him there floating on a big pat of butter. So, briefly, in one word, the frog that survived has, fill in the blank.
Grit.
Grit. Love it,
Alan.
Alan.
I was gonna say that.
Grit is good. So the frog that survived has grit, has determination,
Perseverance.
perseverance. Good one, good one. So now we have two frogs. One's a bum, one's lazy, he drowned right off. He couldn't even bother trying to survive. The other kicks and kicks and kicks and kicks, and he ends up making an entire churn of an entire whatever. So he ends up making the butter. The frog who persevered
Oh, I didn't
ended
notice
up
that.
surviving.
I thought it was already made and there was a
No.
Frog
So, Liddy smiled despite herself. Hey, Trofina continued. Some folks are natural born kickers. They can always find a way to turn disaster into butter. So, as Faith said, Trofina is using this frog story to equate two characters, Willie and Liddy. Which frog is the lazy frog that can't bother to survive? Which frog is the frog that has grit and is willing to do anything she can to survive? Alan? Liddy, right. So what is the final they, meaning whoever you're talking about, the frogs or Liddy and Willie, can always find a way to turn disaster into butter. So right now, what is Liddy's disaster?
Her and Charlie were separated, and she has to work.
Very good. What's going to be her butter? If she takes Trofina's little metaphorical story to heart and kicks and kicks and kicks, what is going to be her butter?
Getting out of work and reuniting with Charlie and fixing the cabin.
And fixing, going back home.
Does she know about that?
Trofina?
No.
No, if she
Then what
does.
is she hinting at if she doesn't know?
Well, she's just kind of saying, listen, like it's that, I think she's giving her more of a lesson in character ed, not knowing anything of Liddy's past, just kind of saying, listen, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. In Mr. Holmberg's words, suck it up. Life's not fair, get used to it. It's kind of that message she's sending to Liddy. Listen, you don't want to be here, I get it, but work your way out. Have the perseverance to work your way out.
Oh wait. Not that this is any late for the story.
All right, so then next what happens in chapter 4? Who comes to visit Liddy? Charlie, right, and how does Liddy react? What's her response? How does she handle this situation?
She didn't know that he was coming because he snuck up on her, and she had a bunch of questions to ask him when he left.
And does she sit down and talk with him?
Yeah, but she
No.
didn't ask him.
She never sits.
Well, she never sits. But I didn't think she really ever got a chance to, does she talk with him heart to heart?
She talks to him, but she doesn't.
Why?
Because she was working and like she didn't want to get caught by her mistress.
Right,
I
she was
think it actually
working.
said that.
Too many people were around and she didn't want to have everyone overhear her story. But also, how does she feel about seeing Charlie? Like, what's her body language indicate? Is she like so happy she runs up, hugs him, spins him around, is like, oh my God, I'm so glad to see you? Or is she like, oh, wow, you scared me and I can't really talk to you because people are around? Alan?
The second option, she was happy, but she didn't want to talk that much. When he left, she wished that she asked him all the questions that she had.
Right.
I said that she was treating him like a
Yeah, and why is that? She was treating him like a
She
stranger.
didn't want people to know that, he knew her.
Okay,
And
but
plus, they haven't, like, talked a lot, so they're kind of, like, awkward.
yeah, absolutely, Kayla, you're absolutely right. She feels really awkward around Charlie because they have been separated for so long now, which is so long, maybe a month or whatever. They've been separated that she feels like, I don't know him. He has become a stranger to me, and I don't know that we have things in common anymore. And so she feels awkward around her own brother. She doesn't know how to handle the situation. And then lastly, this chapter ends up, and this is the last part I want to talk about. Turn to page 32. There's a bunch of guys in the kitchen and they're talking and they say they caught another slave up near Ferrisburgh. You with me? Okay. The legislature can say all they want about not giving up runaways, but as long as them rewards are high, somebody's going to report them. What's another word for the legislature? Government. Very good. The government can say all they want about not giving up runaways. What are runaways, kids?
Slaves.
Slaves. So the government can say all they want about not giving up slaves. But as long as them rewards are high, somebody's going to report them. What does this whole paragraph mean? In your own words. Put it in your own words. Sean?
It means like that the government kind of like set a law like that they can't run away, and like people don't report them and stuff, but like if they see if the rewards are high, they'll report them.
They'll report them.
So they
Right.
can get all the money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's called, historically speaking, you'll talk about this in social studies later on, it's called the Fugitive Slave Act. So we're in Vermont. Where are the slaves? Where was slavery?
Like,
Not
so
really in the north, but
It was in the south. So why in Vermont are they even talking about runaway slaves?
Because the slaves from like the south went up north to.
Why? Why did they go north? Why didn't they go west? Why did they specifically choose to travel north? Travel. Because what? Well, right, but what specifically was up there that those slaves wanted? Freedom. Absolutely. So the slaves would naturally run to the north, hoping once they got into the north and settled, they'd kind of hide in society and they'd be free. They'd be free. But then what happened was the government said, you don't have to, if you find a runaway slave, it is not a law that you have to return them. You don't have to do that. So, but then plantation owners were like, well, this sucks, because now all of our slaves are running away up north and they're getting their freedom. So now I'm missing out. So in order to circumvent the government, what did the plantation owners do? They say, all right, if the government's not going to make people return them, I will make people return them and I'll offer them a $100 reward.
That would be a lot in that time.
That would be a lot in that time.
And that's when Liddy's like, really?
And that's right, and she was like, right, and she's like, oh wait, $100. I mean, what's going through Liddy's mind? Not that she's pro-slavery or anti-slavery, but why does that $100 start clicking in her head?
She's trying to pay off her mom's debts, and it's a lot of money for them. And she's just thinking, like, if I can find a slave, I can turn it.
Just taking her
Absolutely.
closest
If
friend.
I could find
hard for
that's
the
exactly
slave.
what she's thinking. She's like, oh my God, if I could find a slave, I'll send them, I'll return them and get the $100. My mother's debts will be paid back like that. I will be back at the cabin. Charlie will be back at the cabin. She will have, if she finds a slave, basically she will have found her butter. Basically,
That's
you know, when
put
you
all
think about it.
together.
Right, that's when you put it all
That's what
together,
I-
right?
in the next
Because she's not thinking, you know, like, oh geez, if I find a slave, that would be horrible, you know, like I can't send him back to, because what would happen if a slave got sent back? Most likely.
Whipped.
they would get whipped and
Or
beat,
killed.
right, or killed, or even killed, right.
Then why get the reward?
I know.
Because people want the money, they don't care what happens, it would be like,
Well, why give the reward if you're just gonna kill the person?
well, yeah, I don't know, I mean,
So I don't think they would kill him.
They probably could.
They might.
They
Like,
probably
if you
would
were a
not
person
kill
that
Edward.
was, if you were a person that was like that, and you wanted your slave to learn a lesson, not be able to read, then you would think them to come back to
right.
Or they would just
So
torture
then,
them.
that's it, so then spring comes and whatever, that, like, that question on your reader's notes, what happens when spring comes or
I didn't
whatever?
even think that happened, so I just said that like in the spring it's easier for people to run away than in the snow.
Oh, see that, cause I was trying to do the reader's notes and I'm like, who?
I didn't even remember.
There's nothing,
them
that's a
talking
bunch
about
of,
the spring.
they're talking about, well, it said March came,
It said
the
there was
sap
a lot
began to
more
rise,
people. Yeah, I
added to
forgot.
all of her other chores was the task of clarifying
Oh.
syrup. It was hot, it was exhausting work, it's almost like everybody goes back to work, I don't know, that question was, that question to me was kind of like, who cares? It's not important to the
So I just.
I didn't see that.
I
like,
did say
a
something
better
important.
question would have been, what was the point of why did the author include that conversation about runaway slaves in the story instead of what happens when spring comes? It doesn't have any effect on the story.
Where does Charlie work? Like, what does he work for?
He's a
Snake
mill
rainbows.
guy. So, listen,
They said that he ate well at a mill. Does Liddy not eat well where she works? Because they don't talk about
let me finish, Isaac. Isaac, you're not gonna have a quiz tomorrow. You are going to have an in-class activity. I'll log on tomorrow and check that out, and then your quiz will be Monday, so it'll be on Schoology for you Monday. And same with you guys, if you'd rather take an electronic quiz, you're more than welcome to take an electronic quiz.
Honestly, I
As
feel
for
like
now-
sitting there.
Peace.
Keith, Sean.
Yeah, it was
Sean.
I hit his ass.
Good. You almost bashed